Good evening. We are gathered here for the Planning and Zoning Commission, our regular meeting on July 24th, 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers located at 405 Municipal Drive in Kennedale, Texas. First thing, we're going to do a call of order. Roll call, ma'am.
Place 1, Mikowski.
Here.
Place 3, Madrid.
Here.
Place 2, Brown.
Present.
Place 4, Jones.
Present.
Place 5, Martinez.
Present.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this point, we're going to welcome any comments from the public. It doesn't look like we're having too much of that going on. So I'm going to go ahead and just open for public comment. We're going to call it 6:01. And
No one has signed up for public comment.
thank you very much, ma'am. We'll go ahead and close that at 6:02. Rolling right into the regular session, consent agenda. First thing will be the approval of the minutes from May 22nd, 2025, regular meeting minutes. There was no meeting on June, so we're going back to those. Is there any open discussion on the dais? Good, good, good. All right. Well, with that being said, I'd like to take a motion to approve the minutes from April 24th.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from May 22nd as written.
You're right, it is May 22nd.
Second.
Okay. All right, call for second, in a second. All right. All in favor? And a like sign, all that would be opposed. Negative, we have a unanimous, ma'am. I'm looking at the other one. Okay. Straight into public hearings. We're going to start with PZ case 25009. This is to conduct a public hearing and consider a proposed zoning change from C2 General Commercial District and R3 Single Family Resident District to I Industrial District for the properties located at 426 and subsequent different abstracts that are follow through with those. That is a mouthful. You are correct, sir. From beginning on this one, I'm going to go ahead and open this one up for public hearing at 6:03. Any signed up, ma'am?
No, sir. No one has signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll close that also at 6:03. And we'll move right on to staff presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. Pleasure to be with you here tonight. I want to welcome our newest member, Jeff Madrid. Welcome back. Appreciate your service to the community. So PZ case 2509, this zoning change. I'll present my staff report here in just a minute with our recommendations going over comp plan, future land use plan, things of that nature. But it's for a zoning change, C2 commercial and R3. A portion of it's zoned R3. It's quite unique on that part of town. There's 5 separate parcels surrounded by some existing parcels that are currently zoned R3, but there isn't a residence there. So the request is to have that entire parcel, all 5 parcels, changed to just I Industrial. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But at this time, I want to go ahead and invite our applicants up, and they've got a slide deck that they'd want to present to the commission.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Chuck Marsh. I'm a civil engineer with Weaver Consultants in Fort Worth. I'm here on behalf of Waste Connections, who's the parent company of the applicant. Mr. Chairman, as you pointed out, there's a lot of words surrounding what we're looking at, and that's mainly because what we've got is 5 tracts that have not yet been platted, and the idea is to rezone and plat these lots, or excuse me, tracts into a single lot and rezone them as I. I'm going to go through some of the specifics here, but from a very broad 50,000 foot view, that's what we'd like to do and what we're proposing. So this property is located not far from here, southwest part of town, just south of the intersection of 820 and 287. The property is currently located, the permit boundary of the Fort Worth C&D landfill is right here. And the properties that we're proposing to rezone are this purple box in the northeast portion of the C&D landfill property. As discussed earlier, the properties are currently zoned C2 and R3. We are proposing to rezone them with I, with a special exception. This is consistent with the city's future land use plan. This is to include a potential for a future citizens drop-off area, which would need to be within a special exception area. We can't do that in just I. Total acreage of all 5 of these tracts, just shy of 10 acres. These are all previously unplatted, as we discussed, so there's no lot and blocks or addresses. It's just kind of a lot of this piece of this piece. And all of these properties are owned by the same entity, Texas Regional Landfill Company, LP, formerly known as IESI TX Landfill, LP, of which Waste Connections is the parent company. An aerial view of what we're looking at here. And in the northeast corner of the Fort Worth C&D landfill, these tracts outlined in green are the ones proposed to be rezoned. Currently a maintenance building here. There's some container storage. The entrance to the landfill, if you're familiar, is located right here. I'll highlight that. It's right off of Dick Price Road. Some comparison drawings, just so we can show you what we're proposing versus what's there right now. On the left is what's there in orange. Again, see the C2 and R3 zoned areas, mostly gravel areas with a building here or there. It's mostly just storage or the maintenance shop. What we propose to do on the right, zone all of these as industrial and combine everything into one lot, which is going to make things a lot cleaner in this particular area. In addition to that, there's a couple of proposed improvements that we're including here. Most notably, I'm going to highlight the site entrance, the current site entrance on the left. We're proposing to move that entrance approximately 800 feet north. That does a couple of things. Number one, it moves it farther away from the hill. There's a hill in Dick Price Road right about there, if I were to estimate. Moves it farther away from that hill, provides greater visibility, and also provides the ability to widen these driveways, make some improvements, and overall just improve the traffic flow into and out of the current landfill site. In addition to that, zoning this I with our special exception will allow the placement of potentially a citizens drop-off center. That's a spot where the citizens can come drop off their materials to be taken to a landfill without actually having to go into the landfill. This will be for MSW, that's municipal solid waste. That's what you put in your trash can. Fort Worth C&D landfills, currently C&D stands for construction and demolition, meaning most of the things you put in your trash do not end up in this site. It's all for construction materials, your bricks, your shingles, your drywall, things of that nature. Non-putrescible. A citizen's drop-off for MSW and recyclables would add to the disposal infrastructure of the area and provide for a long-term stability for that dwindling resource. Just to show where this property is compared to the future land use plan. Again, on the west side of town, this box, which may be a little difficult to see here, but that's what we're proposing to rezone these properties. And these are all in the industrial area, so we're trying to be consistent with what the city's vision for this area. So some of the proposed changes. We talked about utilizing the existing driveways off of Dick Price Road, potentially improving those, but of course we would not touch any of those before we go and get city approval to do anything. Relocate the main entrance approximately 800 feet north. Again, visibility and safety are improved on that front. We would relocate the existing scale house and office, which is about 4,900 square feet. I'll show a floor plan of what that office and building would look like. About 25 feet of the existing maintenance shop would be demolished to make room for this new entrance. And there is estimated minimal impacts to existing and future traffic conditions. I'll go into more detail on that last bullet in our last slide. Here's the footprint of the proposed office and break room. So there's 5 offices for employees. There's restrooms and lockers for the workers. There are break areas and kitchen, and then there's a conference room. So this is a multi-use office building that's a good haven for the folks who are working out at the site. So a summary of the potential traffic impacts, as I'm sure that's probably top of mind for Dick Price Road in this area. As a part of a transfer station application, which is part of the future vision of the use of this area, which is in with TCEQ, we have submitted coordination with TxDOT for this site. They have provided no comments or objections to the information we provided for our traffic. What we did was put together an engineering study that estimated the additional traffic that would be that could potentially be brought to Dick Price Road under this project. There is the potential to add a 3-way stop at Everman-Kennedale and Dick Price Road, which could further calm traffic in the area. That's in addition to the stop signs that are already in place at Averett. When we did our estimates of our traffic to be placed on Dick Price Road, we estimated an increase of up to 1,136 total 2-way trips in a day. And that's probably sounds like a lot. 1,100 of anything is a lot of something. So to give perspective on that, when doing traffic analysis, we often focus on what's called the peak hour. When are the most vehicles going to be using this area? And in general, you know it as rush hour, 7 to 8 a.m., 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. is usually when all of us are on the roads. It's not really when trash vehicles are on the roadways, and that's by design. That's to keep them out of the traffic pattern. It's usually much earlier than that. Usually 5 to 7 a.m. is mainly when trash vehicles are on the road, and they return about 3 to 4 p.m. But to give you an idea of roughly what 1,100 total 2-way trips, so if you're in your car and you drive to the landfill and then you return, that's two 2-way trips coming and going. In the peak hour, we estimate that about 10% of the total daily traffic will occur at a site. So that's about 114 total trips in an hour. Again, sounds like a lot. If you were to average that out, that's 1 vehicle for every 32 seconds or so. That's not a lot. There is an increase in traffic, yes, but when this facility, if it were ever to come to fruition and really gear up to its total capacity, we're talking about 1 vehicle every half minute. There's the addition to the traffic patterns are not that great, and that's in part why TxDOT had no comment or objection when we proposed this to them. And finally, this site is located on Dick Price Road, which is proposed in the future to be widened to a 4-lane median divided boulevard, which again will improve the safety, will improve traffic conditions, and just makes things better in that particular part of Kennedale. That's all I've got, but I'm sure Gary's got some more for you.
Thanks, Chuck, and thank you all for having this evening. My name's Gary Bartles. I'm the region engineer with Waste Connections over the facility. I've been working at this facility and with the community here for the past 10 years. I managed the facility for a number of years as well. I've been in front of the board here in council as we've grown the facility and we've operated over that time period. For me, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of a different insight into what we're trying to accomplish here. As Chuck had mentioned, all we're really attempting to do in this rezoning is to relocate what we currently do. So we have an entrance and an exit to the facility. We're proposing to move those further north at existing places where there are road access to them, where we'd go in through and improve those. And then we would eliminate some of the other traffic or the entrance and exits along the way. So we're really just trying to take what's already there and kind of, move it to the north. So we're not really changing anything in that regard other than the location of where things are coming and going. And to Chuck's point, by putting them in a more highly visible place, we think that's a much safer location for them regardless. So by doing that, that's making our operation able to kind of transition into the future in moving our scales and our office building, which are currently outside the city, in the county, inside the city. So that's really the big piece. And this platted parcel is the only portion of the whole entire facility that's inside the city of Kennedale. What we're proposing to do in there is literally having vehicle scales and offices. We're not doing any waste disposal or per se inside the city. But in order to add an offering we don't currently have, which is a citizen convenience center for the citizens of Kennedale and surrounding, we have to zone this as industrial to be able to do that activity. We'll have to come back and get that approval in the future. But those are the two things that are really tying this together. The other portion that Chuck was talking about, the potential for increased traffic, I want to address that really candidly. We, as a solid waste service provider, are pursuing a registration with the TCEQ to site a waste transfer station on properties that are outside the city of Kennedale and inside the boundaries of the landfill. The numbers that Chuck shared with you, that 1,100 vehicles per day, that's the maximum number. At some point down in the future, that could possibly come in if we took in the maximum amount of waste that transfer station could take. So even though it's, again, Chuck said one vehicle every 34 seconds, that's at maximum capacity at some future date. And so we all understand that there are transitions that are going to occur throughout that period, including our collaboration with the city on how we adjust our entranceways when we come back to permit those. But that process of a transfer station is visionary. It may or may not happen. It may or may not happen in that on this property at that location. So we presented this to you so you see what that would be if that does occur. So you're well aware that is a possibility. It's not an absolute, but in that instance, it's still a progressive change. And as Chuck mentioned, there are also progressive changes to the roadway systems and so forth throughout Kennedale that we hope to kind of grow together with, is really what I'm saying. The other part of this, and you may or may not be aware of this as a committee, but we contribute to the city and Dick Price Road for every vehicle and every ton of material that comes into our facility. The city receives what's currently 37 cents a ton for every ton of waste that we take in, which is somewhere between $175,000 and $200,000 a year that we pay the city. I think we're the only entity that does that. And should there be additional waste that comes in there in the form of a transfer station, obviously our contribution to the city would grow as well. So at maximum capacity, at 3,000 tons a day, you're talking another $300,000 to $400,000 a year that would come directly to the city for us to be able to conduct our business there and help alleviate and address some of the traffic issues, concerns that the city may have. So I just want to make sure you understood that this is visionary. It's possible and probable, but it's not guaranteed that any of the transfer station traffic will even ever occur. So I just want to make sure you understood that that's where this is headed. But the true reason for us to be here today is to rezone this, to relocate our entrance and exits, but to share with you what that potentially could be in the future. So, and then give you guys an opportunity to ask us questions about it. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say y'all are gonna widen the road or in the future? Because I would travel through that road all the time and it's a pain, but the traffic is crazy and it's very, very narrow.
Well, what we're referencing is really the city's future plan for your roadway system. And the future plan for, I don't want to speak as an expert, but there's a plan for the city to, and there has been, to make modifications to that road, however that plays out. And, but if you want to speak to that.
Nathan, before you get to it, real quick question. you probably already realized that the big buzzword is going to be traffic, Dick Price. So my question is going to be on this. You brought forth the magnitude of kind of the, at the end, if you will. What do we look like as far as timeline based on scalable increase of business and actually utilization of that once it comes online? And then what do you foresee that point of reference being maximum?
Sure, I
How
mean.
long that would be?
And it's all projection, right? For us to develop a facility here, you wouldn't see any real increase in traffic for, if we were able to start today, 18 to 24 months. Okay, so that would be kind of the beginning of when there could be some additional traffic. To get up to that peak, it could take a long time. You know, it really depends upon a number of different factors, what other alternatives there are, the growth in the area and so forth. And we don't have that 3,000 tons a day. That's not something we have under our control or on our trucks, if you would say. You know, we have a landfill facility down in Alvarado. We have other landfills in the area. We have other transfer stations in the area. We have a transfer station up in Haltom City. So this isn't, the transfer stations are kind of more localized places to receive solid waste from. And then the goal or the purpose of them is to take vehicles that are in the area, Kennedale, as part of Fort Worth and so forth, Mansfield, and give them a location where they can come to more efficiently and go back out and do more work, right? So if they're picking up residential waste and they have a route that's through Kennedale, it's a lot quicker for that truck to go to transfer station and then back out on route than it would be to, say, go to Alvarado and then back. So it's an efficiency thing. You can kind of think of it as a wagon wheel. The center of the wagon wheel is usually a landfill, like we have in Alvarado. This is one of the spokes around that that could service that. So I know it's a really vague answer to your question. I don't know, but it could take quite a bit of time to ramp up to that, unless something significantly changed in the.
So to caveat on that question, what analytics and what matrix did you, when you did this study for estimation, what was in play as far as using what data? And
I'll
where
let
did you
Chuck
arrive?
speak to that because he did the study.
Got to get the numbers guy in. So when we do an engineering study for TxDOT, we start with what's called base AADT. It's alphabet soup, it doesn't matter. What they do is TxDOT counts vehicles, and they tell you, we counted this many vehicles per day. We take that data, I think in this case it was from 2016 or 17, I forget, and then we project that data up until current day. So we know roughly how many vehicles are on the roadways based on population growth rates that are published. So we can get an idea, if it was this many back then, it's roughly this many now. From that, we don't take the conservative approach of assuming we're going to dial things up slowly. We put every possible vehicle we think is going to access the facility at maximum capacity, which again is not going to happen. But to provide sort of a worst case scenario, we say, all you vehicles, you're on the roadways immediately day one. And then because that's going to be the worst case for the facility. And we need to evaluate that. We look at that in the immediate, and then we also project 20 years in the future to 2045. And we say, what's it now? Because everybody else has grown around us. The traffic to the landfill, or excuse me, to the transfer station is going to grow commensurate with how the population grows. And now what does that look like? How does the roadway perform now? But the key to that is that the maximum traffic to the landfill is capped, to the transfer station is capped by permit. We can't accept any more vehicles than that. It has to stay there, otherwise TCEQ is really going to have something to say about it. By permit, 3,000 tons per day is it, and 3,000 tons per day results in 1,136 vehicles. So even though the traffic grows around us, there's not going to be any more vehicles. So that's the metrics and the rough means of analysis that we used. happy to share that analysis with you if you'd like to see it. We do calculations about roadway capacity, and there is a metric called a level of service. Most roadways operate in a level of service between A and E. I-20 right now during construction is probably an F if you're on it during rush hour. 287 business is probably around a C, given the congestion of the area, just if you want to try and imagine what these things mean. So that's what we evaluate. We present our options with and without this facility and compare the two. And those are the broad strokes of how that analysis was done.
Was there any further questions for the applicant before you bring staff? Okay. Appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to bring your attention to the staff report that's in your packet. And what I'll do is I'm going to pull up the GIS map the city has. So we met with this group some time ago, had a great conversation. We talked about what their vision, what their plan was, also what the city's plans were as well in that particular area. And as with any zoning change, we look at the comp plan that was recently put in place, and then we also look at the future land use plan. So in your staff report, there are snippets of the property here, but for your viewing pleasure, I decided to go ahead and pull up the GIS map. And now these lot lines here aren't exact, but that's what we have to work with, and we get that information from the county. But here are those 5 parcels that they alluded to, and here's there used to be a residential structure. I don't know if that's currently still a residential. No, it's gone, I think. But there used to be a home there, so it's currently R3. The idea is, and we talked about process. What comes first, right? Should we consolidate all 5 lots into one lot and then do the zoning change, or the other way around? And we determined it had to be the other way around because we have 5 individual, not lots, but tracts that have their current zoning. We need to change that zoning on those tracts, and then they can consolidate them all and buy a plat. So they've submitted a plat to the city for review that's undergoing review. And we don't anticipate any issues with that. But with that plat, these 5 tracts will be consolidated into one lot. And again, as today, this is the only part of their operation that's currently within the city limits. The landfill itself exists in the ETJ. Technically, it's the county. So can it come into the city in the future? At some point, yes, it could if that's their prerogative. I don't believe they have any desire or plans to annex into the city. With that comes, level of service, that you would get, but also comes other taxing entities, right, that come into place. So that's something that we kind of joked about a little bit, but right. They don't have any plans to actually expand the landfill into this property that is within the city limits. The reason why they need the zoning changes, just to remind you, is that in some future plan, in order to bring a transfer station into the city, it's only permitted under I industrial zoning, but not by right. They can apply for a special exception to the Board of Adjustment in order to obtain that permission. So there's still a future public hearing, a future hurdle that will have to be navigated if they want to see a transfer station here. But that possibility isn't allowed in the current zoning of C2 or R3. So again, that's what's triggering the zoning change request. But it is consistent with our comprehensive plan and our future land use plan. So I want to talk briefly about that. I'll pull up our future land use plan. And you have a snippet of it in your staff report, but this is our future land use plan. And on that side of town, if you'll notice, we see a lot of purple here. So unlike a lot of cities, Kennedale has a very strong and very proud of its industrial users and uses and businesses that are in this region, and it's not something that we shy away from because it's necessary, their current use included. But our future land use plan has taken that into consideration, is that in the future, we envision these properties, and these 5 in particular that are here, to go to industrial. So it's something we've already discussed as a community. Council has looked at when they went to approve this future land use plan, and they said that's consistent with existing uses that it's there. I'll say it's compatible with existing uses and the future land use plan as well. This yellow that you notice here is envisioned to be residential. So how is that compatible? Well, that's a good question. It is across the street. But today, as it operates, if you notice, we've got property here that's zoned residential, but it operates as a quarry today, right? So let me, this at some point, maybe 20 years, 30 years down the road, we may see some residential there. With that, we would anticipate some increase in traffic for those particular uses. So their discussion about their very minimal increase in traffic at a worst-case scenario, in my opinion, is minimal, but certainly not to the extent that in these larger tracts in the area, when those go to residential, that's going to be a larger increase in daily traffic. But the city has looked at that. We've looked at the future land use plan, transportation plan that we have on the website as well. I want to bring up this section here, and if you notice, this is funky. So all over town, you'll see a road here, right? Let me see if I can highlight it. And you'll see the limits of the road are wide, but in certain parts of town, New Hope is an example, in other parts of town, where the property lines actually kind of extend, and they don't actually line up, right? So this is, let me see if I can zoom in a little closer for you. What I'm talking about is, I don't know if you can see, but there's this, there we go. So you see how this blue line is further, I would say, east than the parcel over here? Why is that? Well, that's because we're dealing with property that hasn't officially been platted. And so when that happens, there's a portion of right-of-way dedication. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a portion of right-of-way dedication that will be provided for to support future road expansions. So to answer your question, the city does see this road expanding in the future, but we can't do that right now. We don't have that budgeted. There'll need to be some changes in the area that would call for that. This is certainly one of those. Future residential in the area is another reason why we would need to expand the road as well to support that infrastructure. But when that development comes, those roadway impact fees that come with that pay into the city's budget to provide for the roadway expansions. And so when they go to plat this property, they will be providing right-of-way dedication within that area so that it would be possible for us to expand the road. And that's, again, they're giving that over to the city to support our future land use plan. Then we, as other properties develop, we require that as well often. So I wanted to speak briefly just about the future land use plan, that their proposal, when we look at that, it is consistent with our comp plan. It is consistent with our future land use plan. But specifically in the comp plan, there are various sections. One of them is economic development. And so the first economic development goal, if I'm not mistaken, is this. It says this: Kennedale will have a strong and resilient economic base. That's our goal, and that's common in a lot of cities. But how do we achieve that? Our objective, one, is we continue to capitalize on a strong industrial employment workforce to leverage demand for more destination-based retail and restaurant opportunities. So how do we do that? By allowing our industrial uses to expand, by doing what we can to help support them. If you noticed, they did talk about their office, be a larger office than what's there today. So by bringing in more industrial uses or businesses in that area, by supporting them in measures like this, what we do is we increase the demand for more destination-based retail and restaurants, because those employees will need a place to eat. So if you go further north from that location, there's a great taco spot down the road, you know. You go a little bit further north around the curve, when you get into the Parkway, there are talks and plans to see that intersection develop for some more offerings out there in the Parkway. And so this, again, does meet the objective of the comp plan, does meet our specific economic development goals. So in that sense, we've looked at it and we recommend approving this zoning change request. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
This might be a technicality question. Property located at 420, the Arc, that is currently for sale.
420,
420 Dick Price Road, that's the Arc location. They're listed as one of the contacts within 200. The reason I asked the technicality question on this one, because I need to be educated. When a property is for sale like that, obviously they would have an agent with respect to the property itself and on what to do with it, to deem it, et cetera, its value, whatnot.
Okay.
Does that particular agent, are they also privy to communication with the city as a notice, or does that reflect back on the actual property owner?
just simply the property owner, so.
Because they're acting on their behalf, and that's why I'm asking, is
No, I
that
mean,
point they're the commercial real estate agent?
yeah, if they're a broker, a real estate agent, there
They have
is
an
no.
interest in the property, that's why I'm asking.
Well, yes, but the way the local government codes is that the property owner has the requirement for the cities to notify as the property owner. So when we do a buffer of the property, we highlight all the subject properties using our GIS tools. We create a 200-foot buffer, and the system itself will highlight all those properties for us, and then we can export that list. And that's who we mail the notification letters out to. That we also do public postings as well. But that's the requirement. Are we, if I understand your question correctly, are we required to notify the broker or the real estate agent, even though that they have a vested interest?
Yeah,
Since they
they're a
have-
stakeholder, and that's why I'm asking, does that reach through that level at the city level, or does that reach through that level?
It's the property owner that should notify any other stakeholders they have. I mean, if it was a tenant, the requirement isn't to notify the tenant. It would be the landowner of the property. And so we've met that particular standard. But to date, our office hasn't received any protests or complaints. Now, there'll be another subsequent hearing in front of city council. And so with that, we'll publish, I think we've already published a notice for that upcoming city council meeting next month. So we'll have another public hearing. Anybody willing to or wanting to get more information, or they're welcome to contact us or come out to that public hearing as well. But we've received no protests from any of the adjacent landowners. I'll tell you that the state also, on this last legislative session, I believe made some changes. And our city is still going through a review of that when it comes to zoning changes and protest thresholds, things like that. But to date, we haven't received any contact from anybody about whether they were for it or against it.
Okay, I appreciate that, thank you. Any further questions for staff? Do we foresee any issues as far as increased debris on this road? As far as people bringing in their waste and additional cleanup cost for the city, the city would have to handle?
Not for the city. In fact, it's a good point that you bring up, is that when you see a street sweeper out there, it's not a city street sweeper. I want to say it's their street sweeper. So when you're on Dick Price, that's something that they do, being good neighbors in that area. They do recognize that, the type of use, there's a tendency that there may be some debris that does spill out, but they, at their expense and time, resources they spend to get that part of the town cleaned up. I would say most of the debris we got in that area isn't trash. Certainly if there was, code enforcement would be picking up quite a bit of stuff. Our truck beds right now are full of bandit signs on utility poles in other parts of town. But very rarely do we pick up anything on Dick Price Road that hasn't already been picked up or we've gotten a call on. What we do get called about is sediment debris from the land quarries and things like that out there. But they certainly do their part in cleaning up that area.
Okay, thanks for noting that. I'm sure that's going to be kind of an important statement later on. Is there any further discussion? You got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to share.
Can you come up to the podium, please? Thank you.
Directly to your point, we have people on a daily basis that pick up litter in 2 miles in each direction from the entrance of our facility that would continue. So we have people out on a daily basis walking Dick Price Road all the way up to 287 and back and then south as well. So we have people, individual, by permit, we're required to do it. We have people out there on a daily basis picking up litter and trash, and we have to do that. If there was ever any concern or question, obviously, you guys can always call us and we send people back out, but we have people policing that every single day that we're operational. And we have that responsibility, we carry on that responsibility, along with, like, as stated, we run our street sweeper, we run our internal street sweeper that we have, and then we also hire a third party that has a more highway street sweeper. That's the enclosed kind of thing you would see in a typical going down the road. Ours is more of a construction related, but also has a blade on it. So we have the ability to kind of, if we track anything onto the facility, we have the ability to kind of kick it off the road for later cleanup, follow-up. So those are the things that we do, and we do those on a daily basis. And then we have internal controls as well. We require everybody to have tarp loads when they come in. So if a vehicle's coming in, it doesn't have a tarp load, they are fined, essentially. They're charged a fee for not properly securing their load on their way in. And then on their way out, they're obviously empty, and when they leave the facility. So, and then we have different structures inside the facility to try to knock off dirt, debris, and everything like that from vehicle tires before they even ever get to Dick Price Road. And we have those strategically placed throughout the facility so that our vehicles coming to or leaving the facility are minimize the impact to the community. And then, like I said, then we go out and police everything and pick up on a daily basis. So if you see people out there in reflective vests, if you drive down there in any given day, you should see people out there. They're not out there 24 hours a day, but they will do a complete sweep every single day. So whatever they may have not gotten in the afternoon of the day before, they will get the next day. And so you should never see that anything out there more than an operational a weekday.
Thank you very much for that input.
Yeah, anything else for me?
Nope. Good. All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. That was insightful. Staff, same. Thank you very much. Any additional comments, internal discussion? Any? Good. All right. Well, I'd like to entertain a motion for the consideration for, PZ case 2509 for the zoning changes from C2 and R3 to I. Have a motion?
I motion we approve PZ case 2509.
I second.
All right, all in favor? All right, that's unanimous, man. That does pass. Recommendation. All right, and as our wise Mary would once say, now to the best part, adjournment. Any last conversation? All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion we adjourn?
All right, second?
I second.
All right, all in favor, adjourn? All right, we are adjourned at 6:45, ma'am. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you all.